Pokemon Red. So who's played this? To be honest, I imagine the answer these days is probably less people than you'd expect, considering this and Blue came out back in 1998. But for me, I can say I played a lot of this. I don't believe it's the first game I ever completed. It's certainly one of them though, and I loved it as a kid. This game is the reason I still love Pokemon today. However, I got out of Pokemon for quite a while and there's a lot of games I missed. That's the reason I've started this series, which I've very creatively called Gotta Play 'Em All. And that is the goal, to play every Pokemon game. The only rules are that I'm allowed to skip entries if there is no possible way of playing them, or if it's like a Japanese entry where there's a North American/European version, and also that I do not have to play Pokemon Unite. I played that for a long form video already, I do not need to do that again. And naturally, if we're going to play these, we have to start at the beginning. Strictly speaking, there were two games, Red and Blue, but as they were basically the same game aside from wild Pokemon differences, we're just going to play this one, and I'm going for the one I did in my childhood. The waves of nostalgia hit hard when I saw this first clip, Professor Oak explaining what a Pokemon is and so on. Seems like a very unnecessary explanation now, but considering this game was most people's introduction to the concept of Pokemon, makes sense. We picked our name, which I went with EP, and then my rival's name. I didn't know what to call him, so I ended up calling him Pratt. Why? Because I called him that as a kid. Weird that Oak has forgotten his grandson's name, but oh well. With that, we got thrown into the world, into our bedroom, and we got to play a SNES. God, this game is old. I swiped the extra potion from the PC that a lot of new players miss. Mum wishes us farewell. We're 10, so naturally that means we're adults and we have to leave home. And off we go. We ran into super dangerous tall grass and Oak comes and gets us before taking us back to his lab and giving us a choice of 3 Pokemon. I'm sure everyone knows these choices, but they are Bulbasaur, Charmander and Squirtle. Bulbasaur is the least popular choice, but he was my choice when I played it as a kid, so that's what I went for. And then Pratt always goes for the one that's super effective against mine, so Charmander. And now it's time for a Pokemon battle. The battles are simple. We have our moves, ability to use items, ability to switch Pokemon, although we can't right now obviously, and the ability to flee. It's a tried and tested format that's never really changed because it works well. This battle can be lost, but I didn't lose it much to Pratt's annoyance. We do a couple of battles I can easily handle, and here we are, our first city, Viridian City. Now I can remember this being a bit confusing as a kid, but basically you are supposed to pick up a package from the Pokemon, take it back to Pallet Town and trade it in for a Pokedex, so that's exactly what I do. Our goal in the game is to finish the Pokedex, but that's not necessary to sort of actually complete the game, and I can tell you right now we will not be doing that. My goal is to just complete it, not to 100% it. Anyway, we go and get a map from Pratt's sister, which is very handy, and then we head back to Viridian City. Once there we stock up on Pokeballs since, well, I want to catch Pokemon. We need a full squad of 6 if we're going to get anywhere with this after all. I head into the tall grass and immediately find and catch a Pidgey. A little while later I secured a Rattata and then I head east to a different route where I can swipe a Nidoran male, the female one is in blue. Now we have a good little starter squad. This leads to the part of the game that is probably my least favourite, and that is the grinding. The act of having to do Pokemon battles again and again to level your Pokemon up. Now, I am fully aware this is also how the modern games work, however, the grinding now is definitely a lot easier. I know a lot of my generation preferred when it was harder, but for me, I actually like that it's easier now. With this game, I felt like I spent a good chunk of my time just grinding, and it wasn't the most enjoyable of experiences. That is why I'm going to be skipping the grinding on this video, because there's not really much to talk about, and there sure was a lot of it. The first set of grinding concluded on Route 22, since I knew that Pratt was there and we needed to have a battle with him. Even though his party was stronger, I beat him without any issues, and now it's time to move on to Viridian Forest. I remember this as a kid being the first real challenge you get, and it is. The forest is full of trainers and also plenty of things to catch. I managed to get myself a nice Weedle. There were also Caterpies here and even Pikachus, but they are rare. The trainers were a little bit of a challenge, but as I'd done the grinding beforehand, nothing to really worry about. And then we hit Pewter City. And then we immediately went back to Viridian Forest. Why? Because I got that Weedle, but I didn't get a Caterpie, I didn't get a Pikachu. I knew I could get a Caterpie easy enough, but I would have skipped the Pikachu if need be. But no, next battle after the Caterpie, I got the Pikachu. Now, back to grinding. And to give you a grinding summary, my Weedle became a Kakuna, and then a Beedrill, and my Canopy became a Metapod, and then a Butterfree. Once I had the Beedrill, I swapped him out for Pikachu though. I just wanted to evolve him when I was here. I still had this naive idea in my head I was going to evolve everything I caught, because I didn't realise how much work that would be. And then we finally get to focus on Pewter City, the Stone Grey City. We get led to the gym by a very helpful man, and we do want to beat Brock, our first trainer, but not yet. It's always worth exploring these places, and I do, picking up some stuff in the shop and taking a quick trip to the museum. With that done though, it's time for the first gym. I remember this being easy, and well, it was. There's one trainer and then Brock, the first gym leader, who only has 2 Pokemon. The Geodude was easy enough to handle, and the Onix presented no challenge to my Bulbasaur. This is one of the reasons I think he's a good starter. And with that, we have the Boulder Badge. Only 7 more to go. Also, Bulbasaur evolved. We have an Ivysaur. We're back to travelling now, heading to Mount Moon, beating trainers as we go. I managed to pick up a Spearow on the way, and then I hang back. Partially to do a little grinding, and partially to get a Jigglypuff. God, that battle took so long against that little bugger who just point blank refused to be weakened, but we did eventually get them. Probably not worth it because I'll never use it, but oh well. Mount Moon is the next step, and this is really our first experience with caves. I don't care for them. You tend to get a lot of random wild Pokemon battles here, to a point that it can get annoying, and it's full of trainers too. Good for grinding, not good for trying to get through quickly though. I did manage to get a Zubat, a Paras, and a Geodude here though. We also had a chance to pick up a fossil here, and I got the Dome one. That will come into play later. And now we're out. Route 4 took us to Cerulean City, but it wasn't for very long. We did some grinding, getting ourselves an Ekans, and also evolving the Nidoran into a Nidorino. Cerulean City is another gym city for us, as they pretty much all are. But first we need to do a bit more grinding and also have a chat with a man named Bill. To do that, we have to go north, defeat Pratt, and then head over to Nugget Bridge. This is meant to be a real challenge, but it's just a handful of battles, and then you go to the Pokemon Center whenever you want in between them, so it's really not. Finishing this got me a Pidgeotto, very handy. And when I got to the end, it was revealed that, shockingly, there was a Team Rocket ploy to get new recruits. But we beat his Pokemon, so never mind them. Okay, we have another route to handle, Route 25. Yes, these routes are a bit out of order. It kind of makes sense, but it does feel like a few got bolted on at the last minute. But this is all just trainers. Good experience though, so no complaints. We do need to get this way to meet Bill. He's stuck in the body of a Pokemon. No, this is never really explained. We help him, get him out of the Pokemon body, Pokemon which is really never seen again, and to reward us, he gives us tickets to a cruise ship. We actually do need to go on this ship later, so that is handy, but as I said, later thing. For now, we get back to my favourite activity, grinding. Remember I said this game needs a lot of it? Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. It was useful though. We managed to catch ourselves an Oddish and also get an Abra a little later. Eventually, those things are tough. And also get ourselves a nice Raticate. Gives us something to show for it beyond just the levels. With that done, I have a little look around Cerulean City, which is fine. Quite a few places in this game have something unique to them, but Cerulean City doesn't really have that. I guess except the bike shop, but we can't really afford the bike. That just means we have a gym to beat, and once more it's easy. A couple of trainers here to take down first, but as the water gym I have an Ivysaur and a Pikachu, no sweat. Misty was also easily taken down, although this was mostly because of the grinding I did. And here we are, the Cascades badge. With 2 badges down and still 6 to go, we decide not to waste any time and immediately take the long and unnecessary route out to Cerulean City and then head south to the underground path. It seems like this would be scary or threatening, but nah, just a straight path. The route we come out of though, now that's a challenge and a half, and there's plenty of trainers for us to deal with. Good experience though, and we hit Vermilion City. Remember I said most cities have something unique about them? Well, Vermilion City has the SS Anne. Remember the ticket I got for the cruise ship? This is what I needed it for. It looks pretty tiny for a cruise ship, but I guess it's a TARDIS ship. There's a ton of trainers here for us to fight though, which is always good for experience, plus a load of items. Started on the floor, I went in, then went down, and then up. It's a big ship. My final battle on the second floor is our rival, Pratt/Gary, or Blue if you want to call him that. I'll call him Pratt though. After we managed to defeat him, didn't have any problems with that, we find the Seasick Captain. I feel like if you suffer seasickness, you shouldn't be a captain. We rub his back, okay, and then he's feeling a ton better because we have magic healing hands. To reward us for our magic hand, he gives us HM01. Chances are you know what HMs and TMs are, but let me break it down in case you don't. Both of them teach your Pokemon moves. TMs are one use and HMs are unlimited. The HMs though have specific non-battle purposes, and in the case of the one we just got, Cut, that allows us to cut through bushes that are in the way, and we need that. Also, as soon as we get off the SS and it just leaves. Imagine if we were still there 5 minutes later, we'd have been taken out to sea with no money, no luggage, nothing. Well, we didn't want to go on that cruise anyway. We still have a lot to do here in Vermilion City. I started with Route 11, beating, well, children in Pokemon battles, and then even managing to catch myself a Drowsy, along with, of course, the all-important grinding. Then I went to Diglett Cave and caught a Diglett, and then finished grinding there. Vermilion City has been fun, but with the SS Ands not a whole lot more to do, although I did pop into the Pokemon fan club to get a bike voucher. Now I can get the bike. That's a later thing though. Right now we have something more important to do. Vermilion City Gym. It's an electric type gym, but that's not really the problem with it. The few trainers here, but again, not much of an issue. The problem is the puzzle. There's a code you have to break to get in. It's basically hitting 2 hidden switches under these bins. You hit one, the other one's going to be on some adjacent bin, which I didn't realise till later. Only problem is you get the wrong switch the second time around, the whole thing resets. This is annoying. Ultimately, I'm not too bothered though, because I appreciate the additional variety in this gym. It's also kind of nice to find a puzzle that you can't beat with a guide, that you actually have to solve it yourself. Once I finally got through, it was time to take on Lieutenant Surge. He's the first of the gym trainers that wasn't one of Ash's companions in the show, and his Pokemon were, shockingly, not that hard. And here we have the Thunder Badge. Before we leave Vermilion, we have a little detour to take. We visit the Diglett Tunnel, but we never went through it, so now we do. Easy enough, it takes us back, of all places, Pewter City. More importantly though, we can access a house we can get HM05 Flash. We need that to get through dark caves, and that will get some use later. We took a quick trip to Pewter City itself, because Cut allowed us to get to a hidden part of the museum, where I got a second fossil. We'll do something with that later. I then cut through the Moon Cave, back to Cerulean City, and then we cash that bike voucher in. The bike is great, and also necessary for later. We need to come back here anyway though, because this is where the game starts to get a bit less linear. Well, it's still linear, but it's more confusing. Despite the fact that we travel to Vermilion City, moving on requires us to exit via east of Cerulean City. As a kid, this confused me. So Route 9 was a fairly standard load of battling and grinding. We got through it so we can get to the important Rock Tunnel. The Rock Tunnel is why we needed that HM05, because without Flash it's impossible to navigate through it. I mean, you could technically with a precise guide, like telling you what steps to do, what direction, but Flash makes it so much easier. Suffice to say, the cave is full of Pokemon and trainers, and we battle our way through it. It does take a while though. We're in the cave nearly 40 minutes. We do eventually get out though and head down to Lavender Town. There is important stuff for us to do in Lavender Town, but we are unable to do those without getting a Sylph Scope that we won't get for a bit, so we move on. Firstly, I get a Magikarp. Yes, I know, worst Pokemon out there, but it will be one of the best when it's evolved, so it's added to the party. Grinding up the level 5 Magikarp in this area isn't too hard really. We keep pushing through until we finally hit Celadon City. This will be where I get my next badge, but first a little trip to the shop to pick up a Thunderstone. Why? Because I like my Pikachu, but he's a bit weak if I'm being honest. How do we make him strong? By turning him into a goddamn Raichu with that Thunderstone, and that's exactly what we did. Now Raichu is actually a force to be reckoned with, and we have a damn strong electric type at our disposal. Now it's time for me to do the thing I've certainly complained about before, and that's the more grinding. This was actually the longest amount of grinding I had to do this whole playthrough, and I had basically an hour of recorded footage for this, and quite a bit more that I deleted because it was just basic leveling up. I do have some things to report though, like catching Growlithe. I swapped out Butterfree for Growlithe because now we have a fire type to help deal with future gym leaders. I also picked up a Firestone so I can evolve him later. There were other important things to report from the grinding too, like finally evolving Magikarp. We now have a Gyarados that can really handle himself and a powerful water type under our command. We also got Ivysaur to level 32, and of course you all know what that means. Oh, that's right, our starter is now all grown up and is a goddamn Venusaur. Ready for any battle that might be thrown at us, we head into Celadon City. I quite like this city because it's a proper city. It's got a bunch of stuff. It's got the offices of Game Freak, the company that made the game, hotel, superstore, and gambling. Yep, it's got the game corner, which is fully just gambling built into a kid's game. I feel like they wouldn't get away with that now, but they did then. We will actually return to the game corner because there's something there we really need to do, but for now, we're off to Celadon City Gym, where Erica awaits us. It's a well-designed gym with plenty of trainers, but nothing that's too difficult for us to get through, especially with my well-trained team. As for Erica herself, well, she was of course the most difficult, but once again, nothing we couldn't handle, especially with the type advantages that Pidgeotto and Growlithe gave us. And with that, we have the Rainbow Badge. That's half. 4 more to go, but till now we head to the game corner. Why? Well, to give gambling a little try, of course. Who doesn't love gambling? But also for the Team Rocket base hidden underneath it. It's not the easiest area to handle, not because of the enemies, but because of these weird arrow puzzles. I got through it, but yeah, I got confused for a bit. There of course are people for us to fight, but I dealt with them without any issues. We eventually get the lift key, and get down the lift, and meet the leader of Team Rocket, Giovanni. He'll pop up again later, but for now he has 3 Pokemon, and it was easy. He leaves the Silph Scope behind, which if you remember is what we needed for Lavender Town, so back there we head. Lavender Town is small and it doesn't really have much except for a guy who can rename your Pokemon, but that's not what we're here for. What we want is Pokemon Tower, which is the graveyard of all Pokemon. Bit dark for a kid's game, but sure, it's not like it's the first time Pokemon's been dark. Oh, there's also Pratt there for us to deal with, but, you know, easy. The place contains Ghastlies and Cubones, and actually we catch 1 of each. Without the Silph Scope, we wouldn't be able to see the ghost Pokemon and progress, so good we have it. The final Pokemon at the top cannot be seen without the Silph Scope, which I have, and it's a level 30 Marowak. Challenging, but not beyond us. We continue going up, finding out Team Rocket are here, because of course they bloody well are. And we rescue a man who eventually gives us a Pokeflute. Although we haven't needed it yet, there's good use for it later. So now it's time for us to get things moving. We've had to consistently get from place to place via tunnels because the checkpoints were blocked. We fixed that by getting one of the border guards a drink. I'm not even kidding, that's the solution. I went for water because it's the cheapest, and then I got distracted. I was going to go and deliver it, but instead I decided to wake up a Snorlax. For anybody who's been watching the channel for a while, you'll know Snorlax is one of my favourite Pokemon. It's even become something of a channel meme. And although I do have a complete party and don't really want to replace anything with a Snorlax, I do at least want to get it. Did I get it? No, of course not. I accidentally killed it instead. Suffice to say, I didn't save. To be honest though, he's not really a priority right now. We do need him, but as things are, we need to go through the border checkpoints. But again, not the #1 priority. Right now, it's to do some of my favourite thing, grinding. Although I did finally secure a Pidgeot. And I also forgot that Nidorino evolved via Moonstone, but when that eventually clicked in my brain, I got a Nidoking. With that done, we went and handed the guard the drink, and apparently he can share a single small bottle of water with 3 other guards. Sure. More importantly though, he said we can now go through and we can head into Saffron City. Saffron City is the largest city in the game and in the Kanto region, and it's also currently under the control of Team Rocket. Oh dear, that's going to be a problem later, huh? Before I deal with them though, let's go to the gym. No, not the regular gym, a different gym. Saffron City has a secondary gym known as the Fighting Dojo. Win there and you can get either a Hitmonlee or a Hitmonchan. I am not turning down a free Pokemon, so we head there and fight through the fighting types. The gym leader, who is known as the Karate Master, has the 2 Pokemon we're here for, but we beat them easy. I always preferred Hitmonlee, so that's the one I picked, even though I likely won't ever use it. With that done, we need to deal with Team Rocket. That requires going into the Silphco building and working my way through it, and I was here a while. The Silphco building is a full-blown skyscraper, and I would say there's a lot to do, but really there's just a lot of battles to fight. Most of the footage for this was just battles. A few other bits, working out where I can get to and what items there are, and you know, the series of teleporters you have to try and figure out, but you know, it was fine. Weirdly, we end up battling Pratt halfway, who was just waiting for us in a building that's been sieged by domestic terrorists? Well, okay then. Ignoring the fact that he must have ties to Team Rocket to actually get here, we do the regular thing of kicking his ass and then heading to take on the boss. Guess what? It's Giovanni again. Guess what? We beat him again. Honestly, it can't be a surprise at this point. The president of Silphco is very pleased with us, so much he gives a Master Ball. Yup, that's a Pokeball with a 100% guarantee of success. We'll use that later. Not right now though. Right now it's time to get badge number 5, and that means the Saffron City Gym. This one has a unique factor to it in that it's a teleportation puzzle as well as battles. There are 4 teleport pads in all but the first room and Sabrina's room, and you have to work out which ones get you to the room that Sabrina is in. The battles were easy enough, but the puzzles? I'm not the best at puzzles, and oh boy, did it show in this. I expected Sabrina to be really hard, and she was definitely the hardest gym leader so far, but nothing more than we can handle. And now we have the Master Badge. That's 5. And now it's time to do that thing we abandoned earlier. We didn't need to catch Snorlax then because we didn't need to go south. But now we do. Now we do. So, now is the time to get him. Snorlax is actually very tough to beat down, and it nearly defeated my 10 levels higher Nidoking in battle. It's almost like Snorlax is my favourite for some reason. But we did get the damn thing. Full disclosure, I fucked up here. Anyone who knows this game well will know that HMO2 is on this route, specifically just above the fence. And I actually did go there earlier, and I could have gone there now, but I missed it entirely. However, that HM is just Fly, which allows us to quick travel. And as we're looking for just game completion rather than 100%ing, we don't actually need it. I'd have liked it, but I didn't realise until way later, so yeah, we're just going to skip it. Also, remember we had to get the bike? Yeah, we needed it for here. This is why we had to go back and get it, despite the fact I'm never really going to use it at any other point in the game. It's just for this one place that we have to have it. Honestly though, I'm happy to have come here to Route 17 and 18 because of how many trainer battles there are. It's a bit of a slog at the time, but when there's a ton of trainer battles like that, it makes the grinding so much easier because it does most of it. At the end of that bike ride though was something far more important, and that's Fuchsia City, home of the Safari Zone and, more importantly, Fuchsia City Gym. We're going to have to visit the Safari Zone at some point, but not just yet. First we need to get badge number 6. Fuchsia City Gym is the Poison Gym, which I didn't find super challenging. However, there are also invisible walls here that are supposed to be annoying, but as I can see where they all are, they're really not. Seriously, so easy. Koga awaits us in the middle of the, air quotes, invisible walls that are just so easy to navigate around, and honestly he wasn't much of a challenge to take down. With his final Pokemon defeated, we get the Soul Badge. Now we need to attempt the Safari Zone. The rules are simple: we get a certain amount of special Pokeball and allotted time to explore what we can and catch what Pokemon we can. It's not battling though, it's using bait and such to bring them in and then the special balls to catch them. I do manage to catch some stuff like this Venonat, but my goal wasn't actually catching Pokemon. My goal was to find a couple of items we're really going to need, and on my first attempt, well, I completely failed. 0 out of 2. Great. I got some more successful catches on the second attempt, although nothing new, but more importantly, I found some gold teeth. Yes! But actually, in all seriousness, we do need them. We also found a secret house. Why does that matter? Well, it contains HMO3, which is surf and allows us to swim, and we need that to get badge 7. Now we take those gold teeth back to the warden. He can now talk, and he gives us HMO4, which is strength, which is another thing we need to be able to get badge 7. I actually taught surf to a Nidoking and strength to a Gyarados because YOLO. I wanted to see how it worked. Now we are ready to go and get badge 7, but I take a little detour through Route 15 all the way to 12. There's not really much to see about this area, not much to say. There were a lot of different trainers to fight, and there's a damn good way to grind, but basically there were 2 ways to get down to Fuchsia City. This is just the other one. I could have skipped this entirely. I did it to do the training. With that sort of grinding done, it's time to finally head south, and our next goal being Cinnabar Island. I take out a couple of trainers on the beach and head into the water, riding my Nidoking that weirdly it looks like a seal now, through the waves. However, if you were expecting things to be drastically different here, you'd be very wrong. No different to the other routes except for swimming. I did catch a tentacle though. Now, my goal is Cinnabar Island, but to get there I need to go through Seafoam Island, and by going through them I mean I need to head through the caves. Now is a good time to talk about legendary Pokemon. There are 4 in this game: Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, and Mewtwo. As I'm just going through the completion, getting the 4 legendaries is not a requirement. However, we are going to be walking past 2 of them, like literally walking past them. So we might as well get them while we're here. And the first of these is Articuno. The cave itself is the challenging one, having to push the right blocks the right way and down the right hole in order to block off water so we can get through. I managed to pick up a couple more non-legendaries while doing this too, getting myself a seal and a Shelter. We eventually get to the point where I could have just skipped Articuno because I have to swim to a different island, but I don't want to. I'm not going out of my way to get them, I'm not doing the optional ones, but I'm not skipping ones that are literally right next to me. Easy though? Might have been easy to get to, but it wasn't easy to do. He's 6 levels above my party, but even without that, his moves are tough. He also really doesn't want to get in the Pokeball. He even fainted once. Next time, he wiped out my entire party. It took a good few more attempts, far more Pokeballs than I care to admit. Eventually we got him. We caught a legendary Pokemon. With that done, we get out of Seafoam Island and continue heading west, taking down trainers as we do, until we finally hit Cinnabar Island. This was my favourite of all the gyms, at least in the series, and I can really appreciate it here as well. It's got a few unique bits to it. Firstly, a facility that can bring back fossilised Pokemon. Remember the Dome Fossil and the old Amber we got ages ago? Well, I trade those in for a Kabuto and an Aerodactyl. To get into the Cinnabar gym though, we actually need a key. To get that key, well, it's in Pokemon Mansion. This place is kind of cool actually because it ties in a bit with the movie that came out later, because this is the birthplace of Mewtwo. This is where he escaped from. I caught a Ponyta in here, which was nice, but also not what I'm here for. I'm here to get that damn key. The key was naturally the last item we could find in the basement, but we did get it. With that key we can get into Cinnabar Gym. It seemed like there'd be something special, but actually it's not. The only thing is that the doors are sealed, so we have to beat a trainer before they open, but we would have done that anyway, so hardly an issue. Like the leader, they're all fire types too, so if we get desperate we have Nidoking Surf and Gyarados' Hydro Pump. There were quite a few of them, but eventually we got to Blaine. My Growlithe can take a good couple of them, and then Nidoking Surf took out the rest, and with that, Blaine is defeated. We now have the Volcano badge, there's only one more to go, and there's not a ton of work for us to get that. Firstly we have to head up Route 21, leaving Cinnabar Island behind and going up north. The route didn't have any unique challenges, but it took us quite a while to get through it as there were lots of trainers. When we headed all the way up there, we arrived at our destination, which is Pallet Town. We've done a circle. Yeah, we have. Do you remember Viridian City, the first city we went to? Well, that city had a gym we couldn't access before because the leader was away. Well, we've done all the others, the leader is back, and that's the final badge. We're warned it'll be the toughest of them all, but honestly, getting in here, the thing that's bugging me the most is the spin in and need pads. I am not a fan of them. Getting through them and the enemies waiting for us wasn't particularly difficult, and we get to the gym leader, who is Giovanni. That's why he's back, because we kicked his butt multiple times and now he has nothing else to do but run this gym. And he doesn't even run it very well, because we beat all of his Pokemon with just one of ours. And now we have an Earth badge. That's all 8. Having all 8 badges means we have one objective left in the game, the Pokemon League. Now remember when we got that Nidoran at the start of the game? That's the way, and when we go there we once again fight Pratt in the same place he was earlier. He's a lot more powerful this time around though. Still, nothing we can't handle, and we walk beyond this further than we've ever been this way in the game before, to the Pokemon League. The route doesn't really have a whole lot of wild Pokemon, but what it does have is a bunch of guards checking if we have all the badges, so that we can continue through this area, which I must say still looks pretty cool, even in black and white. And then we get to the door and it's a cave. The caves are probably my least favourite part of this game, but this is an area where the other legendary Pokemon we're able to get will be. Yeah, Moltres. Like Articuno, we don't have to get him, but we're walking right past him, so, you know, why not? I mean, who wouldn't, you know? Victory Road itself is, well, just a typical cave. Multiple levels, pushing boulders through holes and onto buttons and so on. Basically the same as what we've done before. Now, on to Moltres and Moltres Eevee. Why? Well, as we're not going to Zapdos on YouTube, might as well use the Master Ball on him. And with that, all we have to do is get out of Victory Road, which took a lot longer than I would have liked. God, it took so long. But we get out and we get to the Elite Four. We have a Pokemon Center and a shop built into this too, which is quite nice. For everything we might need is here, and then of course, we can go and fight them. Now, at level 50, I decided to finally evolve Growlithe into Arcanine, now that he's got all his moves, so that he's ready for anything that's thrown at him, which is also my last evolution. I decided to just throw myself at the Elite Four, give it a go, fully expecting to fail. The first one, Lorelei, defeated, and not too difficult either. The second one is Bruno, and once again, I destroyed him. The third one is Agatha, and she nearly got me, but I beat her. It wasn't until I hit Lance, the final member, that I got wrecked. Not too bad for the first try. After that though, something very unexpected happened. I decided the best way for me to train up my under-level Pokemon would be to use the Elite Four. But that's exactly what I did. Lorelei took out 3, but I beat her down. Bruno was much easier this time and I got him easy. Agatha was also very easy. Beat her. Then I came to Lance, the one who's pretty much guaranteed to defeat me, and well, that's not what happened. Despite having a much weaker party and less Pokemon to call on than him, I wrecked him completely. I did not expect that to happen, but when it did, I was just stunned. But that also means we only have one single battle left to do in the whole game. The guy who just beat the Elite Four first, Pratt. So I got all my Pokemon all revived and healed up and then jumped straight into it. This feels risky. I mean look, 12 levels above me. We got the first Pokemon, Pidgeot, down. Alakazam got annihilated by my Articuno, my Gyarados wrecked his Rhydon, Arcanine easily lit the Exeggutor on fire, Raichu took out the Gyarados, and finally Charizard. It beat down Raichu, it beat down Articuno, before my Gyarados finally dominated it. And with that, we beat it. And I don't mean we beat Pratt, I mean we beat Pokemon Red. Professor Oak came out to congratulate us before taking us to the computer where the Pokemon League champions are honoured and showed us our winning team and takes us to the credits. So, gotta play them all. Episode 1 completed. And how did I find the game? It almost seems like a silly question, do I like the original Pokemon game? But perhaps it isn't. I haven't completed this game since I originally played it as a child on the Game Boy. Since then I've played a load of other games, including a load of other improved Pokemon games. So it's the question, how does the game hold up in 2023? Honestly, it holds up really well. It's definitely more of a grind and more of a slog than what would be popular these days, but despite that, it's still really a lot of fun. The sprites still mostly look good despite their age and lack of colour, and there's still more than enough variety of things to do that it's a genuinely enjoyable experience. I'm happy I started with this game and I'm happy I got it done, even if it did take a lot longer than I originally planned. So, I will be returning with Gotta Play 'Em All Episode 2 at some point, which will be the classic that is Pokemon Yellow, but I've got some other big project videos to work on soon. Next time will be another Games from my past, a game that I love, but these days when people mention a video game from this franchise, they immediately think of a PS4 game. But this one is on the PS1. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.